Hi, have you ever thought about possibly moving to Billings, Montana? Well, you're going to want to watch this video. We're here on the banks of the Yellowstone River in Billings, Montana, and we're going to go out and take a look at some of the neighborhoods in Billings, talk about the price points in real estate, talk a little bit about the landmarks, the services, maybe some of the culture and lifestyle in Billings. I'm Craig Siphers, and I work with my daughter Erica at Exit Realty Bitter Valley South. We're in Western Montana in Hamilton, but we have offices all over the state of Montana, and we got calls, texts, and emails almost every day from folks just like yourself. And everything you need to know in order to get a hold of us is in the description below. So let's go out and take a look at Billings, Montana.
We're going to start in a nice little neighborhood. This is on 25th Street West, headed north. We've got a fire department over there on the right, and we've got a variety of residential homes here, most of which were built in the 1960s. And of course, it's November now, so the leaves have fallen off the trees, but you can imagine that when this is nice and green, it's really quite pretty. Now we're headed west on Broadwater, and many of these homes were built in the early 1940s, and they typically have basements, but they're not awfully big. You know, they run anywhere from 700 square feet on the main floor to, 1,000, 1,500. Now we're turning on 8th Street southwest, headed south on this particular street. And now these homes, as we travel through here, a number of them were built in the mid to late 1950s. And this is great. They're great little neighborhoods in Billings, and we don't have any recent sales data on these homes. According to the assessors, many of them are in the, say, the 350 to the upper 200s, depending on size. Now, we've just come across Grand Avenue, headed north towards the Rimrocks. This is the Billings Heights Subdivision, and there was a home recently sold in here for $233,000. It was a 2-bed, 1-bath, and 948 square feet. Now here we're going west on E Avenue, and you see these places here. They're relatively new. They were built in 2007. They're called bungalows, and they are like little condos, condominiums, about 1,400 square feet each, with level on the first floor and with a basement. And they have an assessed value of just under 400 currently. We are not members of the Board of Realtors out there, but our office that's situated in Laurel handles all the Billings market. And we're going to talk with Lisa Slatterly here in one of our in our Laurel video, which is just right here in the Billings area. So you'll want to take a look at that video with our interview with Lisa Slattery with Exit Realty Connect. So here we're driving north on 13th Street West. We're going to go past the First Presbyterian Church there on the left, and this is a mix of some residential and some businesses. We've got some institutional folks here like the Presbyterian Church, and we're just crossing the 1300 block of Pulley, I believe is pronounced, and we're headed up here towards the Rimrocks and see what we can see here in Billings. This is a very distinctive sandstone outcrop in Billings. Now we're traveling west on Harvard Avenue towards Veterans Park, and we're going to come up here to Veterans Park, and we're going to take a right and head north. We'll come up here and go on Cactus drive past the Rimrock Learning Center. This is just a little bit north of the Veterans Park. And the Rimrock Learning Center is part of the Billings School District. The Billings School District boasts an 84.6% graduation rate. They have 22 elementary schools, 6 middle schools, and 3 high schools. So we're probably not going to go through all of them, but there are plenty of educational opportunities in Billings, and we'll also see our opportunities for post-secondary education as well at MSU Billings, Montana State University Billings. Now we're on Rimrock Drive. This is just below the Rimrocks. This is a major thoroughfare in Billings, and you've got a variety of nice homes and very comfortable neighborhoods. Then we'll just take a little drive down here in the bright sunshine of early winter in Billings. We happened to be able to get in here without any snow, so driving was nice and easy. And Billings does have a pretty good weather pattern, much more mild than a lot of people would expect, being mid-state. Here we are driving along Rimrock Drive and going past the MSU Billings campus. It was established in 1927 and once was known as Eastern Montana College and merged into the Montana University system in 1994. It occupies 110 acres on its Billings campus and has a student enrollment of approximately 3,600 undergraduates and just under 400 graduate students in its various programs. So it's the third largest university in Montana, behind the University of Montana in Missoula and Montana State in Bozeman. Now, here are some really nice homes in the area near MSU Billings. And Billings real estate market is relatively affordable for a large city. It's the largest city in Montana, and when we get into the downtown district, we'll talk a little more about Billings. Now, here we are going up on top of the rim. The Rimrocks are an interesting geological phenomenon. 80 million years ago, the Billings metro area was the shore of the Western Interior Seaway, a seaway that went from the Gulf of Mexico to the Arctic up north. And sediment and sand were deposited along the shoreline and gave us the Eagle Sandstone, or the Rimrocks, where you can see this beautiful panorama view of Billings. And you can see the downtown there. So it's really quite extraordinary, and there's a lot of stories with regard to the Rimrocks. There's trails up there that you can enjoy and look out over the city. And of course, during the evening, it's absolutely beautiful. Back in the day, it was a great spot for lovers to park. Now it's pretty heavily developed. In fact, Logan International Airport right here, you can see this is up on top of the Rimrocks, so you get out of the weather, and then this is looking down onto the river bottom. There are actually 3 refineries in the city, and you can see them out there operating. The refineries are the Phillips 66 refinery, the Exxon Mobil Billings refinery, and the Scenic or CHS refinery, and they're all great employers in the area. Now this is U.S. Highway 87, Route 87, and it also is Montana 312. There's a business area up on the rims near the airport, and you'll see your fast food places. Now we're going to drop off the rim, go down into a little bit of a rural area in northeast of Billings, And so let's go ahead down there and take a look at it. And then just before we drop off the rim, we want to take a look over the Yellowstone River here and down into the valley. There are a tremendous number of new developments in the Billings area, as you might guess, and this is one that's kind of a little bit rural. You can see the refinery just down over, so we haven't dropped off the rim quite yet. This particular area, there was a home that sold in here not too awful long ago. It was a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, a 1,758 square foot home, and it sold for $393,000 in this general neighborhood. So in comparison to a lot of the western Montana real estate, Billings can be relatively affordable, and there are a fair number of job opportunities in Billings. Now, Billings does have some challenges, and it's something that we certainly can talk about. Please leave a comment if you're familiar with the Billings area. I would like to hear from you. So as we go out to explore our next little subdivision here in the Billings metro area, you can see that we're going through some very rural property, and you'll find this to be true in most of the larger and growing cities like Billings, in particularly Billings, and Bozeman as well. Billings has a bit of a sprawl going on, and we'll see that particularly as we probably pick it up in our second video as we get closer to Laurel on the west side. But you can see these are rural properties, some very nice homes. This is a brand new subdivision, relatively new. It's been around since about 2015 or so. It's called Bitterroot Heights, and these are nice homes. Not too awful long ago, a home in here sold. It was a 4-bedroom, 3-bath, 2,700 square feet of total living space, and it was built in 2015, I believe, and it sold for $448,000, which, from a stateside perspective, in the larger cities, that is a pretty good price point, particularly for the square footage. And when we compare it against those that we find out in the western portion of the state, Billings, of course, being more central, I wouldn't call Billings east necessarily. We're headed back southwest into Billings itself on Montana Highway 312 and US Route 87. And so this is getting back into the business district, and this goes over the top and then drops back down into kind of where the Billings Metro is. Now this is an area still up on the rim, or up in the heights as they call it, and you'll notice that this area's got some mix of multifamily. It does have some manufactured homes. This is actually a gravel road here in Billings up on top, and this is the Meadowlark Subdivision, and there was a home that sold in here, and you'll see when we come around the corner that this is kind of, there's a number of tri-levels, bi-levels, those sorts of things that were very popular in the 70s. And we had a 1,700 square foot home there that was built in the early 70s that sold for $393,000 not too awfully long ago. Now we're back on 312 or 87, Route 87, better known as Main Street in Billings. And this, of course, is a major thoroughfare with a lot of the businesses along this stretch of road. And this is where you'll find your fast food restaurants. You've got U-Haul there, Wendy's, etc. And it's a major artery in through the Billings metro area. You'll also find Stockman Bank in almost all of the major cities, and it's originated in Miles City, and quite an interesting story about how that started in 1953 with the coffees. Then we'll come across our healthcare system here in just a minute. This is Billings Health, Billings Clinic. And so we'll come across them right now. Billings Clinic, it's local health care. It's the largest independent health care system serving Montana, Wyoming, and the Western Dakotas. And it's a multi-specialty group practice with 336-bed hospital and a level 1 trauma center with more than 4,500 employees and nearly 600 physicians there at the Billings Clinic. And you can find Billings Clinic not only in Billings, but of course in other areas in eastern Montana, as well as I believe there's one in Bozeman. So that's our healthcare in the Billings area. Another major thoroughfare in the Billings area is 6th Avenue North, and this has got a mix of businesses and residential. We'll see that as we're down here. We're actually going to head to a great location here in Billings known as the West Side Edition. The West Side Edition has a really cool property that I'm excited to show you, and we'll get down here and you'll be able to see going into the West Side Edition. There's obviously some very much older homes, but it's just a very quaint neighborhood. It's got, you'll see street lights on the street. They're not your typical street lights. You'll see what I mean here in a minute. But before we get there, this is a Dallas Stadium, and this is part of Billings Senior High School, which opened in 1940. And Billings Senior handles grades 9 through 12, and the total enrollment is 1,737 students with a student-to-teacher ratio of 17-1. And of course, you've got a little Caesars right there handy for the students. And this is just a little subdivision that we popped into. It looks like townhomes with attached. They're all attached through with the two, with the one-car garage between them, and then a multi-family here. So just wanted to show you that some of the new developments and housing opportunities in the Billings area, and then we'll find ourselves going into the West End Edition, and here we are. And so these are just very cute little homes, and you'll see the street lights there, the street poles lights. Can't think of what they call them. Let me know in comments if you have an answer for me. And these are just super cute little homes, and they don't really sell for too awful much. In other words, if you were in say a Missoula market, you would be looking at $500,000-600,000 for these homes, and that's just not the case with these beautiful little homes in Billings, a great real estate market.
So whenever we go into a community in Montana that's got tremendous history, we all like to go to see some of the landmarks around, and the Moss Mansion happens to be the one in Billings, and we're going to take a little trip around here. But Preston Moss built this 28-room mansion in between 1901 and 1903. It was next to a wheat field back then, and now it's almost in downtown Billings. So we'll take a walk around, talk a little bit about the history of the Prestons here in Billings, Montana.
Moss House is not only a historic home, it's really a museum. The home was inhabited solely by Mr. and Mrs. Moss, and it was inhabited by a Moss right up until 1984, when at the age of 88, Melville Hollingsworth Moss passed away. Now the house was built for a cost of $105,000. Now that compared to a national average of $5,000 at the time, which is really quite extraordinary to me. It's hard for me to imagine that the average home cost $5,000 at the turn of the century there. The Bass House in Stevensville, if you may remember from the Stevensville video, that is a spectacular home as well, finished in 1909. And that home was completed at a cost of about $10,000. And of course, it would take you literally millions to rebuild it today. But this is a 3-story family dwelling with a basement and an attached solarium that we just saw moments ago. And it has the 28 rooms. It is a 60-foot square building. And the house is built with red sandstone from Lake Superior. And it incorporates styles from the French Rococo to the Moorish, and the roof itself was made over 10,000 Conocera tiles, and they were fully removed and reinstalled in 1988. So this is really, truly a spectacular structure, and it is owned by the city of Billings and the state of Montana. So if you get into the Billings area, I highly recommend a tour of the Moss Mansion and enjoy the grounds there around it. And in addition to that, there was a wheat field next to it, but there was also in this West Side addition some additional homes. And we're just going to take a look at some of the homes, because oftentimes you'll find these neighborhoods had just spectacular homes. Now, this one that we're looking at right here is actually an apartment building. It was an apartment building that was it was built in 1907, so not long after the Moss structure was built. And then this structure was built in 1892, 2,128 square foot, 4 bedroom, 2.5 bath home. And then you can see there's very nice homes in the West Side addition, and a number of them that are on the National Register of Historic Places. In fact, this one up here on the corner, I believe, is one maybe. And then we'll see a home as we come around here was actually built in 1907. It looks very much like the Bass House in the Bitterroot Valley, with this classical colonial architecture that was very prominent with A.J. Gibson. And we'll see that house right up here as we come around the corner. So we hope you've enjoyed this video by the Montana Real Estate channel. Be sure to tap the subscribe logo down there on the lower right-hand side, and leave us a comment, share with your friends and family. And until the next video, be well, and we'll see you on the next video.